So today is another episode of Cooking in Quarantine. We're taking what we've got in the pantry and I'm going to make another Hawaiian specialty. These are going to be fried noodles. And fried noodles you generally will see at most parties. They're home cooked in Hawaii. It's very rare to find them in restaurants there. But if you know someone, you go to their house, you have a party, you'll see fried noodles. Almost everybody makes them. So I'm going to show you how to make them. We're starting here with some kind of meat, of course, because it's Hawaiian, we're using Spam, but you can also use chicken, you can use pork, you can use beef. I wouldn't use hamburger, but you could, and that basically is the meat. Then you take whatever vegetables you can. Again, because we're in quarantine and groceries are limited, we still have some bok choy. We have some bean sprouts, and normally I would use some kind of cabbage and carrot combination, but since I don't have that, we have a bag of coleslaw. Well, the bag of coleslaw is cabbage and carrots, so we're going to use that. Onions, not too much, just a little bit for flavoring. Eggs, any kind of noodles. I would prefer yakisoba noodles, but we don't have that, so you can take packets of ramen, soften them up with some water, and fry them, and they'll be the noodles. You want oyster sauce, you want shoyu or soy sauce. There's your oyster sauce. Okay, then your shoyu or soy sauce. And then also you want sesame oil. That gives it a nice flavor. You don't really need to use that to cook. You might use a little bit of olive oil or vegetable oil to cook it in. And I'll probably put some of that in the pan later on. And if they had a yakisoba sauce, I would use that. Sometimes I'll use the sauce packets in the noodles themselves. These are particularly spicy and I don't want it too spicy, so I'm not going to use the sauce packets there. I'm going to do the traditional dish, which is shoyu and oyster sauce. And that's it. So let's get cooking. They were dried noodles from the ramen packet. I boiled up about a quarter to a half a cup of water. I put it in there. I turned it off and I dropped the noodles in. You want them soft, but you don't want them cooked because you're going to fry them to cook them. But right now, they're soft enough that you can use them because I did put the water in there. I dumped the water out, so this is them after they've been put in the water. They've absorbed the moisture and they're ready to go. Then we took the Spam. We sliced it up. We're frying it. You don't need oil when you're frying Spam because Spam has a lot of fat in it. So you use the fat from the Spam to cook it up and you want to brown it on both sides. The vegetables, we sliced up about 3 inches worth of onion, and then we took the bean sprouts and they're ready. We also sliced up the bok choy, as you saw. And then with the eggs, we just scramble them, and they're going to go in there in a little while. So you brown the Spam the way you want it. I personally like it more brown. Young personally likes it less brown. So I'm kind of in the middle here. This is certainly enough browning. You want it this color on both sides, or darker or lighter if you prefer it darker or lighter. Then you're going to cut the Spam up into sort of like julienne, a little bit thicker than that, maybe half-inch strips. Once the Spam is cooked, you take it out and you put it on a paper towel to drain any excess fat. You don't want too much fat in this dish, so the paper towel helps make it a little less greasy, a little less fatty. Next thing you do is you start to saute the vegetables. Now you can put as many vegetables or as few vegetables as you want in there. I tend to like a lot of vegetables in mine. It gives it some fiber. It makes it more filling. And it acts as a nice counterbalance to the Spam. Remember, the Spam is pretty salty. And if you use the soup packet that comes in the ramen, that's really salty too, so you need to be careful with that. A good way to counterbalance it is to put vegetables in there. And again, in this situation, you can use the soup packet or not. You can use soy sauce or not. You can use yakisoba sauce if you have that. But as you can see, I do like a lot of vegetables compared to the noodles in my fried noodles. You want to saute the vegetables until they're looking soft. You don't want to burn them. You don't want to get them browned or anything like that. But you do want them soft when you put the noodles in. Another thing I like to do when I put the seasonings in, I like to put them on the vegetables, and then eventually it'll leak onto the noodles once you put those in. But by putting the seasonings on the vegetables, now you've got everything with a little flavor on it. That was the shoyu. Oyster sauce. This is pretty strong. You probably only want about a tablespoon or so of it, assuming it actually comes out of the bottle. There we go. Now you see, as the vegetables saute, they give out a little bit of liquid. You want to let some of that evaporate before you put the noodles in. Here, look, see the water in there? That's from the vegetables. Okay, so everything's looking kind of soft there. Now it's time you want to put the noodles in. Just throw the noodles in, separate them up. And then you want to mix them in with the vegetables. Now, as you know, the Spam's already cooked, so you don't need to put that in until the very end. Now, this isn't always necessary, but because these noodles aren't really quite too soft, you want to put a little bit more water in there and then cover over the pan. Let them steam a little bit, and that'll help them soften up a little bit more. So as you can see, that softened them up a little bit more than they were. And now it's easier to mix them in with the vegetables. Hawaii also has a dish they call fried saimin, and you can get this at some of the Chinese takeout places. And this is kind of like that, because you do have the ramen noodles instead of the yakisoba. Now I'm going to put a little sesame oil in, that's for flavor. You don't use a lot of it, but you do use enough to give it a good, strong sesame flavor. You can also put sesame seeds in it if you want. That can be good. That tends more towards the Korean side. Koreans love sesame flavors, and so they do use a lot of sesame seeds and sesame oils in their dishes. Remember that Hawaii is a mixture of many different cultures. You have a lot of the Polynesian cultures, but also a lot of the Asian cultures. So a lot of the fried noodles concept comes from Asian fried noodles. You'll find yakisoba in Japan. You'll find chow mein, which really isn't a Chinese dish, but we call it chow mein here, which is a fried noodles that you'll get in China. You'll find fried noodles of some type in Vietnam. You find it in Thailand. The pad thai in and of itself is a type of fried noodles. And Koreans have fried noodles too. If nothing else, they have the soft glass noodles that they have, and they'll often eat that for breakfast. Now finally, it's time to add the eggs in. When you're putting eggs into a fried noodles dish, I like to have pieces of egg in it when I'm doing it. So I take the scrambled eggs, I put it direct into the pan and essentially make something similar to a scrambled egg that you would get for breakfast. And then you can mix that into the fried noodles when it's done. That's basically it. You can cook it as much as you want. I like mine a little bit browned on the bottom, but you don't have to brown it. It's fine just like this. It's ready to eat. But I'm gonna cook mine a little more because I like it a little more cooked. It's all cooked. You mix the Spam in. As you know, the Spam was already cooked, so you don't need to cook the Spam in with the noodles. But now everything's in there. I might like to see a little more shaved carrots in there, grated carrots. That gives it a little orange flavor and a little orange color. But again, with the vegetables, you just put what you want, how you want it, as much as you want, and you use whatever vegetables you have in the house and they'll work just fine. Okay. And when we have a chance to go out again, we're going to start filming, traveling, and eating in restaurants. Lots of interesting videos. And if you like this, please subscribe. It helps us a lot and it'll help us to create more videos. And cheers.
How is it?
Delicious.